Hello, I'm Sandy Walden of Serenity, your Master Grief Coach and Master Grief Coach Trainer. When we know better, we do better. Were you ever somewhere that you've heard something that really hurt? Someone said something or did something, and it was just sort of left there. I find myself thinking of a situation not long after my son died, and I was in a room full of people who I know cared about me, and somebody said something incredibly hurtful about a suicide, and I let it go. I let it go. It damaged that relationship. I said something, I talked to another person in the room, and their advice was, well, that person didn't mean it. You just need to let it go. You have to let it go. If you say something to them, it's going to hurt their feelings. They were right. It would have hurt their feelings. It would have also given them the opportunity to apologize. It would have given me the place to know that I was heard, that my thoughts and feelings mattered, and it would have made a difference in the long run. Here we are many years later, that relationship is not the same. Of course, I've given forgiveness. I know they didn't mean to hurt me, but they hurt me. It happens to most of us at some point or another. And here's the other piece. Sometimes we're the ones who have said something hurtful. Or perhaps we've been that bystander in the room and we heard something and we know how it landed and we didn't address it. I've been part of that situation too. And I have to say, anytime I haven't addressed it, I've felt deep shame and regret. Oftentimes, the person who has said the offensive, hurtful comment, of whatever sort it can be, didn't mean to hurt anyone. They didn't know better. Well, there are all kinds of ramifications from this. It can be big and small. If we have a conversation, I don't mean screaming and yelling, and I don't mean in any way that embarrasses them. But if we simply have a conversation and say, hey, did you know this is the way this landed? Did you know that I was hurt? This is how it felt for me. Or this is what I saw and felt in the room, in the place. It's what I've heard. When we have that very uncomfortable conversation, most times the person who said or did the who committed the offense will sincerely and quite honestly apologize. And even more, they learn from it. They now know better. The truth is, when we know better, we do better. Wounds are healed, relationships are deepened. It can be really, really uncomfortable. But the most amazing relationships in my life are the ones that have had really uncomfortable moments, because that provides that place of vulnerability. When we're willing to be vulnerable and say, this is not okay, when we're willing to say, I'm sorry, I'm ashamed, the relationship expands, it deepens. That bond becomes much stronger because now we know we can trust one another in levels that may not have been tested otherwise. That matters. If comments or words or actions are not addressed, trust is broken. That matters. That's when relationships fray, sometimes end. And not just the relationship between the person who was hurt and the person who spoke or did something painful, but it can also affect the relationships of anybody who knew about it saw it, or heard it. Because the person who was wounded feels as though they can't trust them to stand up for them either. And the person who did the wounding has no one to let them know. We can heal these relationships. We can understand what they are, but we need to use our voice, not to condemn, not to shame, but to bring a light to a comment, to a situation, to bring our compassion and our kindness. It's healing for all involved. That's where those connections are reinforced. That's when trust deepens. That's where healing happens. Anytime I've seen these situations addressed, whether I've been on the part of the person who said something wrong, the person who brought it up, or on the periphery, I've always felt better, and so have the people involved. When we know better, we do better. It's very rare for someone to be told that's hurtful and they disregard it. If so, then we know it's someone we want to put a boundary up with. If relationships matter to you, then I encourage you to find your voice in a kind, compassionate, direct way. We don't need to attack anyone, but we do need to stand up. We need to speak up. We need to understand the people who are involved and let them know that they matter. I wish you a day of honesty, kindness, and deeper healing. Namaste.